Good morning, grade 10. Welcome to our classroom, our second lesson for the week. Today you have with you as usual, me, Mrs. Woodside, in question and answer, Mrs. Lloyd and Mrs. Martin in chat. Now, as I promised you yesterday, everything that we do is based upon each other, okay? So last class we focused on the author's purpose, and it was established that the author writes for three purposes. Anyone remembers those three purposes? Good. Persuade, inform, entertain. And I see a lot of you remember that pie. Persuade, inform, and entertain. And the type of writing I said that you would come across the most, that you would need the most, is the expository essay. This is why we're going to spend so many lessons on the expository essay. This first lesson is an overview. And then the next lesson will be going in more detail about the types. Then after that, we'll go into even more detail about the types. We'll go into how you construct the essay, all right? So we're focusing on the expository essay today. Now, what we're going to do on our agenda today, objectives, you'll be able to define the term exposition, list the types of expository essays, identify the parts of the expository essay, and differentiate between the expository essay and other types of essays, okay? You'll be able to say how the expository essay is different from the other essay types. Now, our first question here is, what is expository writing? I like to find little videos to illustrate the point. And I saw this kid. He was so cute. He has a website where he shares everything he knows about history. Is about 7, 8 years old, and it's called A Kid Explains History. What I want us, as we're watching it, look at what he seeks to do and how he seeks to do it. We're going to see a kid explain ancient Egypt. Pretty heavy topic, a lot within it. We're going to watch 3 minutes of it, and as we're watching, I want you to look at the strategies he uses to move from one point to the next. I want you to look at the evidence that he gives, and I want you to tell me whether or not he's effective in his explanations.
A Kid Explains History! Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Mr. Q. Today we're going to talk about ancient Egypt. Modern day Egypt is a country in North Africa, but people have been living in that area for a long time. Now, the important thing to remember is, way back in the old days, there was never enough food. There are no refrigerators, no microwaves, no supermarkets, so people had to spend all their time finding food. You want a tuna sandwich? You had to go fishing. You want a steak? You had to go hunting. All this changed when people learned how to be farmers, because then they could grow more food than they needed. In Egypt, the best place to do this was on either side of a long river called the Nile, because it flooded in the same way every single year. That meant people can plan when was the best time to plant their crops, and the rest of their time they got to take a break. Now people can be artists or architects. They also learned how to write. Ancient Egyptians did this with pictures called hieroglyphics. They look pretty cool, almost like a comic book. Egyptians believed in a life after death, where you had to take everything you owned. The pharaohs would be buried with lots of golden treasures. Now, some people think mummies are scary, but that's just because they came back to life in some old Hollywood movies. There's really nothing to worry about. I know you're back there, I'm not gonna look. Did you know that Egyptians worshipped cats? That's because they represented the Egyptian goddess Bastet. They were so important, sometimes they would also be turned into mummies when they died. Seriously, they were mummy cats. Someone should make that movie. I'd watch it. The pyramids of Giza look like this. It would be hard to make one even today, with all our technology and machines. But when they were first built, they look like this. An outer layer of polished limestone reflected the sun and made them shine. An earthquake made the limestone fall off, and then people stole it. Part of the reason we are so fascinated with ancient Egypt is that so much of it is with us today. The pyramids are still there. You can visit them. And the Sphinx. You can even see real mummies in museums. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please click like and leave comments in the section below.
Okay, I did click like, I didn't leave a comment, but I would like your responses. How do you think this young man did in explaining ancient Egypt to us? How do you think he did explaining ancient Egypt to us? Key facts, pretty well informed, specific. He summarized the history. Did it look like it was hard? Did it look like it was difficult? No, it wasn't. He did awesome. I'm sure he'll enjoy that comment. It doesn't look difficult, and it really is not difficult to write your expository essay. All it is you explaining whatever it is that you know to the examiner. Right. The expository essay does several things. We see, of course, it's informative writing. It's our I and our pie. It informs, it explains, it would discuss, and it would define certain things. And as said last class, the root word of expository is expose, which means to reveal, okay? And I want you to think of beyond language arts, okay? Remember, language arts prepares you for all subjects, prepares you for all areas of life. Where would you need these skills to be able to inform, explain, discuss, define? What other subjects would you have to use it in? Where else would you need these skills? I saw coursework. Good. Look at my critical thinkers. Science, math, religious knowledge, history, excellent, civics. Okay, every subject you're going to need your ability to explain. Now, when you are in religious knowledge, you may have to explain with the JPR questions. This is my judgment, and I'm going to support it with this. That's the expository essay. In your science, you're going to explain the steps you did to make this experiment go so well. In your civics classes, you may have to write discussing the different types of families that exist in the Bahamas. In math, you may have to define key terms and give examples of them. Okay, so expository essay is our essay of grade miler. Everything you need your expository essays for. So the expository essay is our essay that we need to perfect so that we can concisely express ourselves and be understood and be seen as the intelligent little human beings that you are. Okay? So those are the ways we develop those are the expository essay that what they seek to do: inform, explain, discuss, define. Now, there are different types of expository essays. Okay, the types of expository essays differ based on their purpose. The first type of expository essay is how to make or do something. We're going to go through all of these types and details in next class. I'm just going to touch on it a bit before we go on to the rest of our overview. The first type is how to make or do something. This is where you give your steps. For those of you who are in home economics, when you're making muffins, you have to have everything organized. This is what I need. This is what you do: first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Make sure to do this. Okay, that's a how to make or do something essay, or those in carpentry, or those in auto mechanics. Okay, the compare and contrast essay. This is where you say how any things are alike, how they are different. And you could use this essay format and straight across the board also. You could use it in history to compare political figures, or in geography, comparing land masses or countries. I'm going to skip one in the middle. The next one is the character portrayal. Even though this essay seems like it's more geared toward language arts, it is not. What I especially like about character portrayal essay is that it forces you to think about the character traits of those around you. And when you do that, you're able to make better decisions. When you say, oh, that's my friend, you're not just saying, oh, that's my friend because she bought you lunch a few times. You were able to look into that person's character based on what they say, what they do, and you see, based on what the person does, based on how they act toward me, my family, this is definitely a person I want in my circle. Okay, and with the compare and contrast also, you're using that in real life, where you have your options. Okay, I really want to get this. I really want to get that. What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? And you're able to make more informed decisions. The editorial is where you look at an issue and you impartially discuss that issue using facts from both sides as you draw your conclusions. And the one I left for last, that is in the middle, this is the type of essay that we use most often and we most often see in paper 1 of the BGCSE of the essay, where you explain your idea, your theory, your belief, okay? And as you're explaining, you're giving reasons to support this explanation, support this belief, support this theory, okay? And we're going to go into further detail with all of these later on, but I just want you to see the 5 types of expository essays that we focus on: how to make or do something, compare, contrast, character portrayal, editorial, explaining an idea, a belief, a theory. Now, there are some key words that you're going to come across in expository writing. One is the thesis statement, okay? This is your promise to your reader. This thesis statement, you'll find it in your introduction. We're going to teach you how to do that also. This is your promise to your reader. This is what's going to control your entire essay as you go on to develop this information that you're giving to us to share your wealth of knowledge. Next, you have your topic sentence, okay? This is your support for your thesis statement. This is your main idea. This controls your paragraph as it gives support to the thesis. You have your supporting details. In the expository essay, the supporting details prove what you are saying. This is where you bring in your facts, bring your examples, you bring your reasons, you bring your quotes, you bring statistics to support that thesis statement so that the reader can see that you are indeed informative and that you've gotten your information from reliable places and that they can trust what you are saying. Pattern of organizing. As you see, we have 5 different types of expository essays, and they are all different in how you organize the body paragraphs, okay? You organize them based on the topic, so a compare and contrast essay will be differently organized than an essay where you are explaining how to do something, how to make something. The last key word is transitional words and phrases. These are the words that we use to help us move from one point to the next. Transition is a smooth flow from one thing to the next. This is where we have our firstly, secondly, thirdly, those when you are writing to explain how to make or do something, or you have therefore, in contrast, furthermore. All of those words help us to move smoothly and show that we are more mature writers. Okay, so these are the key words that you're going to come across as you're perfecting your expository essay. Thesis statement, topic sentence, supporting details, pattern of organization, transitional words and phrases. Now, expository essay, very straightforward. 3 main parts. Your introduction. You always start with, you will, of course, begin with your introduction. That is exciting. That is engaging. Remember, your introduction is the first thing the examiners know about you. It's the first thing that people know about you. And that first impression is indeed lasting. Okay? So this is the second part, your 3 body paragraphs. I know some teachers teach it differently. And please do not discount anything that your teacher says. This is Mrs. Woodside's way of teaching it. I know that some teachers say that there could be more body paragraphs, that we should not limit you to 3. But this is the way that I prefer to give it to you students. It helps, I feel it's more organized. So 3 body paragraphs, because you focus on 3 points. You only have 1 hour and 10 minutes to finish this essay. Get in, do your best, get out, get your A. Okay? So 3 body paragraphs, and they develop this introduction. They develop the main idea. This is your meat, where you explain everything that you introduced us to in the beginning. And the last part of it is your conclusion. This wraps everything up. Nice little bow, doesn't leave anything hanging. We bring the information in the introduction. We support it in the body. And in conclusion, we wrap it up to make sure it's nice and neat and our reader is not left with any questions. Our reader is not left feeling that something is missing. And this little diagram just shows us how neatly the three parts fit together. The introduction at the top, the body fits neatly in the middle, and then the conclusion. Now, even though we have different types of expository essays, they all must contain the same things. It must be objective. When we're discussing bias week before last, we talked about something. If something is not biased, it's objective. It's neutral. It doesn't pick a side. Okay, when you pick a side, that is our persuasive writing. Okay, so it is objective. The expository essay is always well structured. When anyone picks up your essay, they should be able to say, okay, it's this type of essay because I see that it is developed in this way. The structure is there so that no one is guessing what kind of essay you're writing. And the structure also helps you as a writer to stick to the point and keep following that point until you reach the end. The expository essay is smooth. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay, you move from one point to the next point to the next point using your transitional words, your transitional phrases, so that it is not jerky. When you go between paragraph to paragraph or sentence to sentence, everything is connected. And we have vivid and interesting vocabulary. This does not mean go and read a dictionary, try to memorize all the words. No. It does not mean you have to just use big words during your entire essay. No. We're looking for precise words. And how do we get those precise words? As we said in week 1, we read. We read as much as we can. We read newspapers, we read zines, we read books. And when we come across words we don't understand, we write it down, write the definition, and we incorporate them into our conversations. So the more vocabulary you have, the more you're able to access in order to be more precise in what you are saying. And you're all 10th graders. If you haven't started, yes, before you can start now. But we are reading. Read, and that helps you with your comprehension. It helps you with your vocabulary and with your essays, okay? Of course, we do not use plain, boring words and expository essays. Even though we're explaining, we're still being interesting. Now we're going to look at these points one by one. Objective, number 1. Yes, you think with your head. No, you don't think with your heart. You make sure that your essay has a neutral tone. We don't see any bias. We don't see any strong language for or against the topic. It shows no bias. And we're going to look at just a little activity with objectivity. And as I said, objectivity is where you show no bias, where you are balanced. Okay, what I'm going to do right now, I have all of the links. I'm going to send them into your chat right now so that as we're going, you can follow those links if there's something going on with the internet. So I want you to look right now. I have the links for all of the activities. So everything that you see here, you should have gotten it just now. You would see all of the links. And the first link would have been Kid Explains Ancient Egypt Watch. Now we're on the second link, Objective Tone. This is just for those of you who may be having a problem with seeing, or if I may be going a bit too fast for you. Okay, so now we see here, we borrowed this from Campus Academic Resources Program, an objective tone. An objective tone uses language that is not biased, okay? It helps us to make our support of our thesis strong because it shows the reader that we have no opinion for or against. We're also allowing our readers to create their own opinion based on this objective tone. So some examples of objective sentences are: historians and literary scholars have had numerous debates concerning the morality and ethics involved in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That's the book about the monster that they made out of different human parts. Okay. The methodology used for this lab is based upon the strategies that have been implemented by other researchers. The recent drought has a notable effect on California's water supply and has impacted the state's water regulations. There's no opinion there, no bias there for or against. In the first one, we don't see where the writer is saying the awful Frankenstein, where that was showing our negative bias. We don't see that I'm talking about the second one, the best methodology. They're not saying that, they're saying this is it. The third example, the drought has an effect on water supply. It doesn't tell us negative or positive. It remains neutral. Objective writing is based on evidence. It shows the views of others and it lets others be able. It's not like people would say fighting words. You're saying, okay, this is what I have to say based on these facts. Now, I just want us to look at a few little sentences. And I want us to say whether or not they seem objective or whether they seem biased. Is it or subjective? Subjective would be our bias. Subjective would be our bias. So I want you to look at it and tell me if you think that it is objective. This is what we're going to put in our expository essay. And of course, you have to explain why you chose objective or subjective. I see some answers popping up before I even start. Great, great, great. The fish they sell by the pair are better than the fish available at the supermarket. Now tell me, subjective, is it bias? Or objective, is it neutral, which we are aiming for? Perfect, Deasia King. Subjective because they use the word better. And her answer is perfect because she tells me subjective. It is perfect because she tells me why. Okay, as my critical thinkers, as we answer, we remember we give support. The first one is subjective. There is no denying that basketball is the greatest sport of all time. Is it subjective or is it objective? Oh, subjective, Mason, because they use the word greatest. And Mr. Hart suggests because it's based on her opinion, that is correct, but you still don't give me the evidence. When you give me the evidence, Hart, I want you to give me exactly of the sentence, which shows us that, okay, you're doing a great job. Just a teeny tiny bit and you get your full points. According to the latest campus-wide survey, undergraduate college students tend to eat fast food more frequently than graduate students. Is that subjective or is that objective? Objective because it provides evidence. Give me a little bit more, Crawford. Evidence in the survey. Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. So it's objective because it provides evidence in the survey, shows it's based on fact. And so we see now when we put survey evidence, when we put evidence based on research, it makes our argument stronger and people see that our argument is objective. Then the last one, then number 5, the data that has been collected depicts a recent decrease in the nation's fossil fuel consumption. Objective, good, Mason. It's based on collected data. Objective, good, King. It's because there's research about fossil fuel. Excellent. Now the last one, the newest installment in this historic franchise puts all the previous movies to shame. The newest installment in this historic franchise puts all the previous movies to shame. Okay, I see Miss Adley subjective. It is a person's opinion. I'll give me that support. Excellent, Crawford. Subjective because it uses the word shame. Okay, that shame, that negative connotation, saying that shows us that you prefer this movie to all the rest. Excellent. I see Ms. Coffey using that word, bias. Great job. Now let's go back to our PowerPoint and look at our next point. Objective. Neutral tone, shows no bias, and we did a really great practice just now. Yes, you talk with your brain side. No, you don't talk, oh, I feel this, I feel that. And there's something that I really want to point out with the expository writing. Please make sure you do not use personal pronouns, okay? You stick with, when you say I feel or I think, that makes your argument less effective. Okay, the reason is we know this is what you feel, we know this is what you think, just state it. All right. And also in this type of essay, you're not saying, oh, you do this, you do that. You're keeping it neutral. People have said, others have done this. Okay, you do not have your personal pronouns in it. To make sure that it remains objective and to make sure that it remains neutral, well structured, like my little Legos. Every expository essay is well structured. One step leads to the next, okay? And how do we do this? We have to organize ideas. You see, expository keeps coming back, organization, organization, organization. You organize based on the type of essay that you're going to do. The 5 types of expositories that we discussed. This organization means the introduction is engaging. It's something that brings you in. The introduction fits neatly at the top of the essay, and it leads us into the rest. This organization is well structured, means your body paragraphs are organized. In each paragraph, you develop them the same way. Each paragraph has about the same amount of sentences. Each paragraph is about the same length. They have the same attention to detail for each paragraph, okay? Nothing exciting in the middle there. Keep it well structured, keep it the same. Then your concise conclusion. Your well-structured expository essay, the concise conclusion, wraps everything up together, make sure that each step is followed, and they just hold up the body and complement the introduction, like a sandwich, what we will discuss next week, sandwich expository essay analogy. It is smooth. See the little silk sheets there? It's smooth. Nothing ragged, nothing jagged that cause you to jump as you're reading. The transitional words, they move the reader from one point to the next without any friction. It doesn't go, get the jam, get the peanut butter, get the bread, put it all together, okay? That first, second, third, that's that shift our brain needs in order to fully enjoy what you have written. Now we're going to look at ability, and I want you to please keep all of these resources that Ms. Lloyd, Ms. Martin, and I provide for you. They're going to come in handy, as we saw language arts is used for everything. They're going to come in handy for each class that you take. I'm going to share with you now. All of this is still inside the chat. When I shared the documents, I shared everything. We're going to look at some transitional words and phrases that you can use to make your expository essays even smoother. Okay, and we have different types of transitional phrases. I'm not going to read all, but I'm going to read the categories. We have the first kind. It signals when you're adding ideas and also beside, further, equally. Number 2, we have phrases that signal time. Next, afterward, finally, later, ultimately, presently. 3, we have order and sequence. First, second, third, of course, this will be in our essay. We're explaining how to make or do something. Let me make it a bit bigger. That's a bit bigger for you all, but remember, you have all these resources. Okay, if you can copy it out of the chat and paste it into a Word document so you can go back to it later. And you could use the links to get these same files that I'm sharing with you. Number 4, you can use the transitions to signify space and place, above, behind, below, on the ground, at tip, across the hall, adjacent to. I will slow down. Number 5, you can use it to show examples, and those transitional words include to illustrate, for instance, such as, furthermore, similarly. Number 6, you use the transitional words to show results, accordingly, hence, therefore, for this reason. 7, you use the words to show purpose, for this purpose, with this in mind, for this reason, to this end. 8, use it to show comparisons. And 9, we see indicating contrast, which is another expository essay, our compare and our contrast. The comparison, like, in the same manner, similarly, or contrast, yet, in contrast, on the other hand, of course, a year ago, now. And even though we have the word but there, but has been so overused. Okay, so I'd encourage you to look through these transitions, or you know all of these. Even if you didn't know, you know all of these when you read. You're going to say, okay, a lot of these I've seen before, but you just don't use it because you're more comfortable with other words. But let's shy away from that but. Okay, we see number 10, signal alternative, exceptions, objections. So this is when you're saying, this is my opinion, then maybe an alternative opinion would be, so these are transitions, although admittedly doubtless. Number 11, to dispute, to say that it is not true. We often hear it said, many people claim, people suppose, in any case. Number 12, the role of this is to intensify, above all, importantly, as a matter of fact, as it has been noted. And the last is to summarize or to repeat, and this is where we find in our concluding paragraph and our conclusion. Okay, hopefully it's unfreezing. In our conclusion, please, if it's freezing up to you, you can get the same information in the chat, the same sheet, and also after this lesson, you'll be able to find it again on the Ministry of Education's website, okay? Number 13, to summarize it, to repeat. In summary, to sum up, to repeat. In short, finally, therefore, in conclusion. Okay, so those are some of our transitional words and phrases. Those are the 13 main purposes. And I find that when information is presented like this, it's easier for you as students to use it when you're trying to improve your essays or even improve the way you speak, the way you communicate with others. Okay, just a little exercise. Okay, so if I say, let's just look at one. A water main downtown broke this morning, so several businesses had no water for hours. Now let me go back up so you could look back at the answer section. Is this telling us addition, time, comparison, or cause and effect? Cause and effect. I'm seeing the answers coming so quickly, I can't say who said it. I see. Okay. Larry will probably be a late bloomer socially, just like his older brothers. Just like. It is what? Comparison. Great. Number 5, I'm jumping around on you because you're jumping ahead with your answers. The lazy checkout clerk forced the 6-pack of cola into the bottom of the bag, tearing it. Then she shrugged her shoulders and said, I guess you'll have to carry the bag from the bottom. So then it's showing us what? Time. Great job, Raymond, Jody, and it's going so fast. Okay, so those are transitional words. Those are the words that help us move from one point to the next in a smooth fashion, like silk, not abruptly, with any little bumps. Wide vocabulary. Okay? Now, as I said before, this lesson and previous lessons, we need a vocabulary that is wide. And we get this by reading and reading and reading. Okay? Your word choice is precise. You use the right word in the right way. Your words are formal. Okay? You make sure that you come across as formal, as, for example, like a secretary in your writing. Okay? And the word choice helps us to see you are more mature as a writer when you choose the word that fits in that spot versus any other word. So of course, in our wide vocabulary, we've already murdered certain words that we should never use in any BGCSE ever, in any conversation ever. The words good, bad, nice, stuff. Okay, those are 4 main ones. Good, bad, nice, stuff. All right, those 4 words you're never to use because they are dead. They have been killed, buried, not to be resurrected, even though Easter was earlier. These words will not be resurrected. They remain dead because they do not give us any clues of what you mean. What does good mean? What does nice mean? What does bad mean? What does stuff mean? Okay, and as you're doing your reading, you're going to find more words to replace those in order to be more mature as a writer and as a speaker. Now, how is the expository essay different from the other essays? Okay, a narrative essay tells a story. An expository essay does not. If you see in the exposition, about 2 sentences, a story that illustrates the point, that is different. Okay, that's a strategy where you put an anecdote in the essay in order to illustrate your point. But an expository essay does not tell a story. The narrative does that. Expository essay does not convince. You're just putting the facts right there. For example, yesterday we saw when we were trying to decide whether the writing was to persuade, inform, or entertain, where the convict was in jail, writing a letter to his daughter explaining to her the benefits of going to college. He was trying to convince her. He was trying to lay out all of the reasons why it's beneficial to go to college, and then give it to her, and then she makes her own decisions. Okay, and what the expository essay does is it gives information. It gives information, and you decide what you're going to do with that information. Okay, we have 4 topics here. Which one is expository? Describe an event that you enjoyed over the Easter holiday. Who works harder in the Bahamas, males or females? Support your opinion. 3, what are some ways we can stop people from littering in the Bahamas? And 4, end your story with the line, I will never deceive my parents again. Okay, I see it's lighting up with all the comments, but let's go through each one and decide whether or not it's expository, and then we're going to support that. Yes, it is, no, it is not. Okay, number 1, describe an event that you enjoyed over the Easter holiday. Is this our expository essay? Tell me why or why not. It is not. Thank you, Demerit. But you cannot just tell me that, Demerit. Tell me why number 1 is not expository. Excellent, Macintosh. It says the word describe. And please know the same thing we're doing here. We're taking apart all of these questions. The same thing you do when you go on any exam. You take it apart to make sure you completely understand and you know what you're going to be undertaking. The same we're taking this apart, is when someone is talking to you or someone is giving you information. You take it apart and say, okay, what does this person really mean? And this is how we develop our critical thinking skills. It says descriptive essay. Good, Fowler. Now let's look at number 2. Who works harder in the Bahamas? Males or females? Support your opinion. Who works harder in the Bahamas? Males or females? Support your opinion. I see someone popped up and said females. I would have to agree, but I want you to answer this question here. Who works harder? Okay, Macintosh. Persuasive, because it says support your opinion. Okay. It is persuasive, and that's the key word there. Yes, it may seem like expository, but you're not just explaining. You have this opinion and you're explaining why your opinion is right. And that is our persuasive writing. Okay? So let's not get caught in that little trap where the persuasive looks at expository. I'm so sorry, Mason, because now you're arguing with me saying males. I should not have taken an opinion. And that's how we know it's opinion also. When you are able to argue about which is right, which is wrong. So this is our persuasive topic. Number 3. What are some ways we can stop people from littering in the Bahamas? I see someone said yes, expository. It is neutral. Tell me what word shows us expository. It's expository. Some say the key word is some ways. We can stop people littering in the Bahamas. And this, I see Ms. Johnson is going into the ways, means they're looking for steps. And of course, those steps as a part of our expository essay format. Great job. Those of you said that the answer is number 3. The answer is number 3 is expository. Yay. But let's still take a peek at number 4. End your story with the line, I will never deceive my parents again. Which is that an exposition? Narrative. Story means narrative. That's Crawford. Narrative because it says story. Story. Excellent. And we got a great job picking it apart so that we can decide which topic is our expository. What I tell my students is after all of these years of being in school, know which essay that you are best at. And when you go into the exam, you go into the exam with your mind, okay, I'm going to write expository. I'm going to write a narrative. And you have to, when you go in, you have to go there and you have to look for that topic that fits the type of writing that you are best at. And when you get that topic, it's so much easier to write. It's so much easier to get that A because you're doing a type of topic you are familiar with. You're doing a type of writing that you are familiar with. Great job, great job, great job. And little review. List of types of expository essays. Does anyone remember the 5? I see one by one. Compare and contrast. Yes. How to. Yes. Keep it coming. Editorial. Yes. I think that Myla screenshots as I teach because she always has everything to the point. How to, editorial, character portrayal, how to make something, giving instructions. That's a how to. One more. Theory or belief. Okay. What does exposition mean? What does exposition mean? Thank you, Angelo. Compare and contrast. So we compare and contrast. It means to expose. To Shanti, remember that. To reveal. Expose or reveal. And as we're writing expository essays, we're exposing and revealing our point. What are the parts of the expository essay? What are the parts of the expository essay? We have 3 of them, 3 parts of the expository essay. Introduction, conclusion, body. Okay, in order. Introduction, good. Body, conclusion. The 3 parts of expository essay that we all will learn how to develop during the coming weeks. And the last one, the last review question, explain how the expository essay is different from other essays. How is expository essay different from a narrative? How is it different from a narrative? It does not tell a story. Good. How is an expository essay different from a persuasive essay? It does not convince. Good. It does not take a side. Excellent points. You're all on target. Very good, all of you. Have a great morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.